o'clock. Regular meeting of the Windsor Heights City Council, Monday, May 16th, 2022. Roll call.
Susan Skiris,
Here.
Joseph Jones,
Here.
Michael Libby,
Here.
Lauren Campbell,
Here.
and Teresa Harms.
Here.
I don't have them muted. I don't know what's going on. My.
Can you hear me?
Sound.
Hello.
Okay, can you hear us, Michael
Yes.
and Teresa?
I can hear you. Can you hear me?
Yes, we can hear you now. Thank you.
All right, thank you.
Does it come through the speakers or just through your computer? I think.
Is it coming through there?
We're good. Please join me in the pledge of allegiance.
Allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
You approve the agenda.
Second.
Roll call.
Susan Skiris,
Yes.
Joseph Jones,
Yes.
Michael Libby,
Yes.
Lauren Campbell,
Yes.
and Teresa Harms.
Yes.
It's just coming out of that, isn't it?
I think I have to change the speaker, but I'll figure it out.
There you go. While you're figuring that out, I'll read this proclamation. 3, mayoral proclamation recognizing June 19th, 2022 as Juneteenth National Freedom Day. It's about a month before June 19th, but don't put off tomorrow what you can do today. Plus, I would like this to be posted. Proclamation reads, whereas President Abraham Lincoln issued the Emancipation Proclamation on January 1st, 1863, declaring that all persons held as slaves within the rebellious states are and henceforth shall be free. And whereas this order was largely ignored by Southern enslavers, even beyond the surrender of Confederate General Robert E. Lee at Appomattox Courthouse on April 9th, 1865. And whereas it was not until June 19th, 1865, when Union Major General Gordon Granger landed on the island of Galveston, Texas, that the Emancipation Proclamation was enforced by way of General Order Number 3, which read in part that the people of Texas are informed that in accordance with a proclamation from the Executive of the United States, all slaves are free. And whereas June 19th has since come to be known as Juneteenth and is one of the oldest known public celebrations of the end of slavery in the United States, and whereas Juneteenth was established as a state holiday on April 11th, 2002 by Iowa Governor Tom Vilsack, and a federal holiday on June 17th, 2021 by President Joe Biden. And whereas Juneteenth is a celebration of the strength and resolve of Black Americans, an occasion to honor the history, art, culture, and achievement of Black Americans, and an opportunity to reflect and act on the continued oppression of Black Americans through mass incarceration, redlining, and other forms of systemic racism. And whereas the celebration of honoring, reflection, and action is necessary if we are to build a truly just society and a more perfect union. Now, therefore, I, Michael Jones, Mayor of Windsor Heights, do hereby recognize June 19th, 2022 as Juneteenth National Freedom Day in Windsor Heights, and encourage citizens to engage in community events surrounding this important observance. Signed by leading up to that, I believe there's a number of events that we don't have in Windsor Heights, but I know are going on and surrounding the greater Des Moines Metro. If we could provide those and potentially send those out on a social media blast when they approach.
Thanks for doing that. I think that's a really important step for our community to make and add value to leadership.
Well, Lauren was instrumental in bringing that to me, and yeah, I think it's important, and I appreciate it.
Mr. Mayor?
Michael?
Yeah, I just wanted to chime in for just a moment. Thank you so much, Lauren, and thank you, Mr. Mayor, for doing this. It's high time, and I totally support this proclamation. Thank you. Thank you.
Thank you, Mike. Public forum. This is the time set aside for comments from the public on topics of city business other than those listed on the agenda. No action may be taken. Please come to the podium, state your name and address for the record, and keep your comments to no more than 5 minutes. Do we have anyone registered?
No.
All right. Item 5, consent agenda. Move the agenda.
Second.
Roll call.
Susan Skiris.
Yes.
Joseph Jones.
Yes.
Michael Libby.
Yes.
Lauren Campbell.
Yes.
And Teresa Harms.
Yes.
6A, consideration of 28E agreement with the Iowa Governmental Healthcare Plan, IGHCP, and authorize Mayor Jones to sign all related documents. Got the memo from Travis. You want to speak on this or Dennis?
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. Travis did all the legwork on this, so I'll turn it over to him and he can give you a brief summary of what we're talking about this evening and introduce our guests. If you have any questions.
Okay, tonight we have Jeff Clayton and Joel Engel with Holmes Murphy with us. They are a consultant similar to a broker, similar to what we have now with Assured Partners and who we had prior to that with Gallagher. And so what we did is we started kind of looking at all the insurance options that were out there, and I called some other cities, and I did learn of IGHCP, get this down in my head now, through the city of Grimes, and then they thought that we wouldn't be large enough. So I did reach out to IGHCP on my own and just said, well, we don't take small groups. So then just through some networking with other cities, mainly the city of Huxley at different clerk events, they got me in touch with Joe and Jeff. And then when I was at the employment conference in April, I said, yeah, let's look into this. And so I got them on board, and they took a look at our group, and we were able to get an exception and get into this group with other cities, school counties, different entities. So with that, I'll just kind of give it over to these guys and let them kind of give a presentation on what this means and what we're looking at.
It should be pretty brief, and I apologize. I guess people not here probably can't see this, but
Thank you.
afterwards.
Yeah.
So like Travis mentioned, Joe and I do work with a lot of different cities and towns in Iowa, and we work quite a bit with the IGHCP trust. And part of that relationship with them has allowed us to sometimes get exceptions for groups. So Huxley was a much smaller city than Windsor Heights. We actually got an exception for them. We got one for Bondurant. So essentially, because we've been building such a relationship with them, we kind of use that background with Windsor Heights to get you an exception as well, which we'll see from the pricing was a good situation to be in. So first few pages, just who Holmes Murphy is, since we'll be working with your group. I think probably most of you are familiar with us. We are based in Milwaukee. I live in West Des Moines, as does Joe, grew up in Des Moines. But we are based in Central Iowa, have some other locations in other states. But obviously the IGHCP is all Iowa specific. So all the groups we do work in that are all based in Iowa. Next page, that's our pictures. And then besides ourselves, Joe Nagels will be working on this account. So Joe can like day-to-day service person, the enrollment and different stuff like that. Next page, then, this is kind of an overview of what IGHCP is. So it's been around since July 1st, 2005, and now has 3,700 employee lives in it, and almost getting close to 10,000 members. So what that essentially allows Windsor Heights to be is part of a gigantic pool, like a larger city would be. So, for example, we also work with City of Des Moines, obviously a much different scale of what they're able to do based on their size. This type of scenario allows cities your size to basically pull together and kind of have the same buying power that a larger city would have. One of the other really nice things about it is your renewal actually comes out much earlier. It comes out like a large group would come out. So your renewals actually, why this is a July 1st, we actually get it in January. So from a budgeting standpoint, you'll be able to make decisions much easier earlier on the process than probably today. And of course, the roots of it in it is they have generally been trend by being in this, so you're written while you're in there, and then hopefully we'll have reserves to offset future increases. Next page below that just kind of shows you how it works. So there is the trust you'll pull together. Walmart is the carrier, so in theory that can change. You all have voting rights to this, so if you decide someday you want to have another carrier, that's part of what the cities get to decide. And then from the claim standpoint, UBS works on that piece too. Next page just shows the rates. So today you currently have your union and your non-union plan. Because the pricing was so competitive, you actually would be allowed to basically move everybody to your union plan and still have a significant amount of savings. So there'll continue to be reserves built up and such, but you're going to see the actual Walmart rates are going to be significantly less than what they are today. And then the last page is in here, it's just showing you the other members are. So again, once you join this, you will have a voting rights just like everybody else. So there is an annual meeting, et cetera, and everybody has one vote. So even though Windsor Heights is one of the smaller groups in it, you have the exact same say just as anybody else is. That's basically it. Do you have any questions for us at all?
I just want to make sure, just because union wise, I know that we're doing great things and I appreciate this. Do we have to notify the union? Do they have to prove this? I realize that this is better for everybody, but just with the union, it always makes me nervous knowing what I've gone through. If they've approved it or.
Chad was looking into that. Our plan was to get your approval this evening, and if that's required, then we'll go through that work. We also still have to have an employee meeting, which we will have help with doing to explain to everybody their new cards when they come in the mail and what they have to do to submit paperwork. So yeah, we're going to follow up with that. I can't imagine that any of our other employees would have any problem with reduced cost, because not only is this going to be about $239,000 in savings to the city, but we're talking about a range of savings per month on an employee's check of probably $17 to $75 a month, which is a big deal, especially in this inflationary situation. So that was the long answer of yes, we're going to get the union sign on.
Sorry. Lauren? How you would like to look at this? Okay. All right, any other discussion? Michael or Teresa?
This is Teresa. Just real quick, because I don't have that packet of information, but I look forward to receiving that so I can, but I'm willing to support it today. But I appreciate Travis's work on this. This is something that I've suggested in the past that we look to as an option to look at lowering healthcare costs. And so this is something that I manage also for my firm. So I'm glad to see us moving in this direction. So kudos, and I'll look forward to looking at the information. Thank you.
Mr. Mayor,
Michael?
I'd like to echo that. Thank you, Travis, for sticking to this. I think this is a real positive thing for not only the workers that are with us, but also the citizens of Windsor Heights, and shows that we are actively looking for ways in which we can reduce the cost of government. So if there is a necessity for a motion, I would move to approve.
Second. Just as an FYI for
Second.
benefit of council. Yes, but the Wellmark plan and cost comparison, I believe, is page 39 of the packet. I think that's the exact same. So that's more or less what we're looking at. It's a much nicer presentation, but the actual data is just the same. It's in the packet. All right, I've got a motion and a second. Roll call.
Susan Skiris.
Yes.
Joseph Jones.
Yes.
Michael Libby.
Yes.
Lauren Campbell.
Yes.
And Teresa Harms. I'm gonna take that as a yes.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Yeah, I'll take it. All right, so we'll be in contact. All right, awesome. Thanks, guys.
6B, consideration of Windsor Heights Fire Department part-time and pay-per-call pay plan. Motion.
So moved.
Second,
So in
Is your
the
microphone on?
ongoing efforts to balance our part-time and paid on call staff with value to keep them incentivized to help cover shifts and openings and evenings. When I built the FY '23 budget, I had planned into that to bring those people up to the same level as our full-time group, based on years of service and whether EMT or paramedic. So that's built into the FY '23 budget that was approved first already. And all this does is take that to the next step and get council approval to move these people up. As you know, in the page 55, the paramedics ranges for part-time are gonna be pretty much in the center of the way of the metro, and our EMTs are gonna be higher. However, something to keep in mind is the paid on call group is EMT. And so those are the people that get paid maybe 1 hour for coming in at 4 o'clock in the morning for a call. So it stands to reason that that number will be more beneficial, a little higher than some of the others. Answer them, but the main message is that it's already funded in the budget. So
Did I also read that somewhere that you were giving them like 2 hours of time if they worked a weekend, which is something that I know that we have been talking back and forth for many years now, kind of as an incentive to work the weekend or, you know, to be on call for the weekend. So thank you for kind of working that into your budget.
yeah, and that's actually beyond the weekend. That's all paid on call time.
Okay,
So the overnights, as long as they stay in the station, I'm not gonna have that stipend if they're at home because we have no way to prove that they were responded. But if they're in the station, then they'll receive an automatic 2 hours for that paid on call time. And then if we have a call, then that call is wrapped up in that first 2 hours. And if it goes beyond that 2 hours, then they would submit another hour pay. But that way they're guaranteed something for staying here, even though it's a nominal amount.
Any other discussion on council? All right, hearing none. Roll call.
Susan Skiris,
yes.
Joseph Jones,
Yes.
Michael Libby,
yes,
Lauren Campbell,
Yes.
and Teresa Harms.
Yes.
Thank you. 6C, consideration of World Refugee Fact Walk at Colby Park. I assume you were Ms. Morris. All right, motion.
move to approve.
Second,
Thank you. I think Mr. Libby brought this, sent an email first, and then I heard from Lauren. And after hearing that, I added this to the agenda. Laid out in the memo that the Refugee Alliance of Central Iowa is asking to put up, I believe, 34 yard signs on the paths surrounding the Colby Park Pavilion that explain the history of modern refugee settlement program and some current statistics. Set them up on the 1st, take them down on the 30th. And they're willing to take them down for special events if need be. I don't think it will be an issue, but we can address that if there is. The city would not be responsible for any sort of supervision. The signs are attached with the agenda, and she's obviously present. If we have any questions for her, again, I would encourage council to approve this request. Discussion on council.
It's Mr. Mayor. Mr. Mayor.
Yep, go ahead, Michael.
Oh, thank you. Yeah, so the council should also know that Stephanie Morris is also a resident of Windsor Heights and is married to an immigrant and chose Windsor Heights because of our broad diversity. And so it was really heartening to hear that from her about why she decided to move her and her family to our community. So that's all I have to say, but I think it's a sound idea. Thank you, sir.
So you're just listening to all the way here to our meeting and it's still sitting here. If she would like to just tell us a little bit about the history of this, that'd be
Yes.
great.
You ready to come up?
Yeah.
Sure, although I do love hearing the things about insurance policies.
I told you, you know, it said come at 6:10 or so, and so we still got it in there. We moved so fast.
Yeah, no, yeah, there's absolutely no complaints on my part.
I'm sorry, but could you introduce yourself and say your name so Travis can get down? Or
Yeah.
say your address. please.
Sure, Stephanie Morris, and my address is 1261 73rd. Yeah, so I work with Refugee Alliance in Central Iowa, and it's a collaborative of everyone that works in Central Iowa in refugee resettlement. So whether that be the resettlement agencies, we have about 26 operating ethnic community-based nonprofits that really lead our work. And everyone else in between, including education, labor, employers, health providers, mental health providers, and a whole bunch more. So we organize 3 events. The Alliance organizes 3 events every year, one of which is World Refugee Day, which is June 20th every year. That's a date that was established by the United Nations High Commission for Refugees, and that's the international agency that processes every single refugee, displaced person, asylum application around the world. So here locally, we've been planning this for about 10 years. It's usually a very big celebratory in-person event that sees well over 1,000 people. We have cultural performances, food from 20-ish refugee or former refugee immigrant-owned restaurants, family games, crafts, activities, at times contentious soccer tournament, but it's very fun. And there's a really big impact with our community, our refugee communities in particular, their culture oftentimes being one of the reasons, or their ethnic identity or culture being one of the reasons they're persecuted in the first place and forced to flee. So the last 2 years it's been virtual. This year, after feedback from community leaders, we're doing a mix. So we're having a lot of smaller or outdoor events kind of throughout the month. And this fact walk is being one of them. So this is something we created in 2017, but it never like formally printed. It's always just kind of been posted at the events. So to have it printed on professional quality signs and to have it in a public place like our park, especially with events going on throughout the month. It's a great way that we're hoping to encourage people to get outside, some sun, exercise, and then also just learn about, not only the resettlement process, but Iowa's legacy and leadership in that. So, yeah.
Where would we find out about these events? Are they on, like, do you have a Facebook page? Because you said that you were having multiple smaller events. So
Yeah.
just so that we know where we can look, because when you talk about all the food that keep me in there.
Yeah, so there will be a QR code on the very last slide that'll take people directly to our website. So Rossi has a website. The events on the website are from last year. We had to wait just a lot of moving pieces, but tonight that should actually be updated. But World Refugee Day also has its own Facebook page. It's DSM World Refugee Day. You can imagine there's a lot of World Refugee Day celebrations around the country. So ours is DSM World Refugee Day. And Rossi also has a Facebook. So those 3 places online are where you can find updated information and events.
Thank you.
All right. Thank you very much.
Anything
Thank you.
Thank you for coming down.
Of course.
Hearing no,
Sorry, did you already vote?
no,
Okay.
you gotta stay.
You got 30 more seconds in you.
That's right. I've got 200 kids at dinner.
Susan Skiris.
Yes.
Joseph Jones.
Yes.
Michael Libby,
Yes.
Lauren Campbell,
Yes.
and Teresa Harms.
Yes.
Thank you.
All right, reports, Ms. Harms.
Do you have anything to report, Teresa? Oh.
Hey, sorry, my connection's not so great tonight, so my apologies. Yes, we had the MAC committee last Monday. We basically got an update on the Greater Des Moines Partnership trip and what to prepare for that. Got a little bit of an update on Polk County on the increase in COVID cases. I believe as of today, we're up to about 150 people hospitalized. And I know that the rates have increased again. And so there's some organizations that are going back to masking, including the hospitals and clinics and that sort of thing in the metro area. So I just bring that to everybody's attention. And then I participated in the partnership trip on Wednesday and Thursday in Washington, along with others. And I will let everybody who's there speak about that. But I was able to participate in the briefing to all the congressional member staff on Thursday afternoon with the priorities outlined by the partnership. And that was well received with great questions. So I think it was a great event. We had an opportunity to engage with our delegation, and I think Windsor Heights had great representation. So thank you, everybody.
Campbell.
No major updates. I wanted to thank you, Mayor Jones, for bringing back the garage sale. I think saw a lot of positive comments on social media and on Reddit about the consolidated garage sale. Thank you to the chief for making the interactive Google map as well. And I got a couple messages about the spring cleanup next weekend. So if you can continue to share that on social media. I think a lot of people are excited to get rid of the stuff that didn't sell at the garage sale. That's all I got.
Mr. Libby.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. I should send you a screenshot of where I am right now, but I'm not going to do that. I understand that it's not been the best weather there in Iowa. First of all, I want to thank the city for allowing Councilor Skeeries, Harms, Jones, and myself to attend the Des Moines Partnership event in Washington, D.C. The report that I have from that, which was, I think the big thing, the big word that I heard from everyone was bipartisanship. And there was a session on elevating civility by Scott Raker, who we have enjoined to do our visioning, which was really impressive. I had a conversation with Congressman Rodney Davis, Republican of Illinois, as well as Congressman Patrick Maloney, of upstate New York, about a really interesting program. They have put aside, they have identified 300 products that are currently made offshore and offering financial incentives to manufacturers to build those things here in the United States. And should they hit certain levels of compliance, a portion or all of those funds would be forgiven. And it is a bipartisan effort. And it's a big deal. It really, truly is when we look at all the things that we're suffering from because we can't get supply in our country. I had the opportunity to spend time with each of our elected officials and other city counselors, and I wanted to raise up a program that Clive is doing. Our discussion, there was 7 or 8 of us around the table, and we were discussing something called soil restoration and how that's done. And the city manager of Clive has promised to send me that. It is a grant program where we would encourage citizens in the city of Windsor Heights to take part and then restore their soil. And it all has to do with water and water consumption into the ground and flood mitigation. It's really a cool program. And so I look forward to sharing that at some point with my fellow councilors. That's all I have, Mr. Mayor. Thank you.
Thank you.
We do.
I'm sorry. Is there audio in the hallway?
Turn it on. I think it's just the mayor.
It's just really distracting. I'm trying to. Okay.
Sorry, all the fans.
Yeah. All right. Joseph Jones, please.
So my portion of the DC trip, I'd just like to say we had some really good meetings about DART. So we met with Maxi and our federal advocacy team there to talk about ways that we could implement some of the things that we do. Some special future projects, I think, which would be good. Also good to hear some reports on some larger metro-wide projects like the airport and our trails and what other areas have been doing and how we've been getting a response from the federal delegation on that. DART's also having an analysis of air transit service. So we have a commission workshop on that next week to discuss what that looks like going forward. There's never, or at least in the last 10 years, there have been evaluation of that what it looks like. So thinking through types of services we provide, eligibility, that sort of thing. So stay tuned. If there's any changes, additions of premium services that might be.
Just kind of thank you to all who volunteered and helped with the first Movies in the Park adventure, especially our sponsors that we have. We had about 95 people attend the movie. As usual, we had a little small technical glitch that made it so that you couldn't hear the movie for maybe the first 15, 20 minutes. But then Lauren decided that we were going to play trivia with the moviegoers. And as soon as Lauren started that, all of a sudden the sound came back on. So I think we're gonna have to make sure that we have that backup trivia plan. So, you know, if anybody has some great trivia or, you know, weird things that you want to pass on to us so that we can have that in our back pocket in case something like this were to happen again, that would be great.
And for all those wondering, I do have my own bullhorn.
And yes, because it was very hard to use the microphone. It, yes, so the bullhorn really did come in handy. Who knew that the $10 Amazon purchase would be that useful? Let's see, thank you to Chad, Lauren, and Liz, who's on our special events committee, for all of their graphic help with putting the graphics together to make our signs look great, and also for putting stuff up on the website and Facebook. Thank you to Rochelle and Dennis for taking care of the payments, as well as organizing to make sure that the drinks, popcorn, and cookies made it to the event on time and in perfect shape. Really big, huge thank you to Brian with Public Works for all his hard work with the setup and cleanup. So that he does a great job of, and you don't have to worry, you just can walk on in, and that's amazing. So definitely appreciate him and his hard work with that. MWA meets on Wednesday, and I just got a thing that maybe special events meets on Friday. I guess I should look into that. I think that's our third Friday of the month. So I'll have to look into that and see what we want to have down on, you know, meeting minutes, whatever. Then just, I had a great learning experience while in Washington, DC. Got to network with lots of different people from the Des Moines Metro. And thank you to the city for allowing 4 of us to attend this event. It was a great time, and, you know, got to meet and talk to Polk County supervisors and congressional leaders, and it was definitely interesting. So thank you to the city.
All right. Motion to adjourn. So moved.
Second,
Roll call.
Susan Skiris.
yes.
Joseph Jones,
Yes.
Michael Libby,
Yes.
Lauren Campbell,
Yes.
and Teresa Harms.
She unmuted and then.
I'm gonna take it as a yes.